Imagine that you just received your salary. The money is in your account, and the first thing that comes to mind is paying bills, settling that pending payment, or maybe buying something you've been wanting for a long time. But before all that, there's a secret that the rich know and practice. They pay themselves first. This means that before spending a single cent on anything else, you set aside a portion of your salary exclusively for investments and wealth building. But why is this so important? Think of your money as seeds you can plant. If you always spend everything you earn and only invest what's left over, what happens? Many times, nothing is left. But if, as soon as the money reaches your account, you take a portion and allocate it to your financial future, you ensure that you are building wealth before paying for anything else. The rich do this religiously. Robert Kiyosaki learned this concept early on from his rich dad, who always said, if you pay yourself first, you'll learn to live with what's left, and over time, that invested money will start working for you. Now, you might be wondering, but what about the bills? If I set aside a portion for myself first, I might not have enough money. That's exactly the point. When you establish this rule for yourself, something amazing happens. You start to adjust. Your brain finds ways to cut unnecessary expenses, eliminate waste, and live within your financial reality. The best way to apply this strategy is through automation. As soon as your salary is deposited, set up an automatic transfer to an investment account or a strategic savings account. Ideally, this amount should be at least 10% of your salary. But if you can't manage that yet, start with any amount. The important thing is to build the habit. Over time, this reserved money will start to grow and can be used to buy assets, generate passive income, and build a solid financial future. Now that you've learned to pay yourself first, the next question is, what should you do with that set-aside money? The answer is simple. Invest in income-generating assets. But what are assets exactly? Imagine two friends, Anna and Camilla, who earn the same salary. At the end of the month, Anna spends a big part of her money on a new smartphone and a more expensive streaming subscription. Camilla, on the other hand, decides to use part of her salary to buy a candy-making machine and start selling sweets in her neighborhood. What happens to their money? Anna spent her money on things that bring no financial return. A year from now, her phone will be outdated, and the streaming services will have taken a significant chunk of her salary. Camilla, on the other hand, turned her money into an asset. The candy machine generates income for her every month because she now has a small business. In a short time, the money she earns selling sweets pays off the machine and still leaves her with a profit. That's the difference between assets and liabilities. Assets are anything that puts money into your pocket. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. Here are some examples of assets that can generate income for you. Investing in a course to learn a skill and offer services, photography, nail design, graphic design, etc. Creating an online business, such as selling products or offering consulting services, investing in dividend-paying company stocks, buying equipment like a coffee machine to sell at events or offices. The more assets you have, the less you'll depend on your salary. Over time, your assets can pay your bills and give you more financial freedom. The question you should ask yourself now is, what can I start building today that will bring me income in the future? Now that you understand the importance of investing in assets, it's essential to recognize one of the biggest enemies of wealth building: bad debt. Imagine two brothers, Lucas and Felipe. Both work at the same job and earn the same salary. Lucas always uses his credit card to buy clothes, electronics, and dine out. Since he only pays the minimum balance, the interest starts accumulating, and soon he owes an amount that keeps growing every month. Felipe, on the other hand, avoids unnecessary installment purchases and only uses his credit card when he knows he can pay the full balance by the due date. Instead of spending, he invests a portion of his salary in a small online business. After a year, Lucas is trapped in debt, paying high interest to the bank and having no money left at the end of the month. Felipe, however, has an extra income and is starting to see his money grow. What does this story teach? Debt can be a major obstacle to building wealth. But not all debt is bad. Bad debts are those that finance consumption, such as credit card purchases, loans for vacations, and financing for items that depreciate over time. They take money out of your pocket because you pay interest without any financial return. Good debts, on the other hand, are those that finance assets, such as a strategic mortgage for rental income or a loan to start a profitable business. The difference is that these debts generate returns and can even put more money in your pocket in the future. The key to avoiding bad debt is simple. Don't buy things you can't afford to pay in full, especially if they are non-essential. Avoid long-term installments, as interest can make the product much more expensive than it seems. If you already have debt, prioritize paying it off as quickly as possible to prevent it from growing. The money you save by avoiding interest can be used to invest in assets and speed up your journey to financial independence. Many people spend their entire lives working hard, but never learn how to make money work for them. This happens because financial education is not taught in school, and most people learn to manage their finances simply by observing their parents or following societal habits. The problem is that without financial knowledge, it's easy to fall into traps like debt, unnecessary spending, and poor investments. Now imagine two friends, Robert and Mark. Robert always believed that the only way to make money was by working more hours. He never studied investments, never read a book on finance, and relies only on what he hears from friends and family. When he has extra money, he lets it sit in a savings account, and when he needs cash, he takes out loans to cover expenses. Mark, on the other hand, decided to learn. He started reading books about investing, watching videos on finance, and talking to people who had already built wealth. In a short time, he realized that he could grow his money in many ways. He learned to invest in stocks, real estate, and investment funds. While Robert continues living paycheck to paycheck without financial progress, Mark has already built multiple sources of income. The big difference between them is not luck, it's knowledge. Financial education is the key to breaking free from the cycle of working just to pay bills and starting to build real wealth. The more you learn, the better your decisions will be. Here are some simple ways to improve your financial education. Read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and The Richest Man in Babylon, George S. Clason. Follow channels, podcasts, and blogs about investing and finance. Learn about different types of investments, such as stocks, real estate funds, and businesses. Talk to people who have already achieved financial freedom and find out what they do differently. Money follows those who know how to use it. Those who ignore financial education will continue relying solely on their salary, while those who learn will be able to make money work in their favor. One of the most powerful strategies for building wealth quickly is not depending on a single source of income. When you limit yourself to just one salary or one type of job, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. If something goes wrong, you could become vulnerable and lose a significant portion of your financial stability. The good news is that over time, you can diversify your income sources in a smart and strategic way. Let's imagine the following scenario. Carlos and Anna both work as employees at a company. However, while Carlos has a steady job, he also dedicates a few hours a week to an e-commerce business where he sells products to a specific audience. In addition, he has a small investment in a real estate fund that pays monthly dividends. Anna, on the other hand, relies solely on her job to make a living. What happens over time? Carlos starts to notice that his online business is growing. He reinvests the profits from e-commerce and the dividends he receives from his real estate investments. After a year, his business generates as much income as his salary. In 2 years, he can already live solely off his passive income and e-commerce profits, while his investments provide additional financial security. Meanwhile, Anna continues to depend on her salary, with no significant financial changes. She considers trying new things, but her fear of investing and stepping out of her comfort zone prevents her from exploring new income sources. Over time, her lack of diversification starts to limit her options and financial freedom. Here's the lesson. The more sources of income you have, the safer and faster your path to wealth will be. And you don't need to start with something big or complex. Small steps can lead to significant results in the long run. You can start creating income streams with what you already have and what you're good at. Here are some ideas. Online businesses. If you have a talent or skill, you can create an online course, offer freelance services, or even open a virtual store. Investments. Diversifying into assets like real estate stocks and real estate funds can generate significant passive income over time. Consulting or private lessons. If you have expertise in a certain area, you can offer consulting services or private lessons. Affiliate marketing. If you have a blog, website, or social media presence, you can promote products and earn commissions from sales made through your link. Handmade or custom product sales. If you have crafting skills, you can create products and sell them on platforms like Etsy, Mercado Libre, or even at local markets. Remember, the key is to diversify and start now. Each new source of income added to your financial portfolio is a step toward financial freedom. When one income stream isn't doing well, you have others to rely on. The secret is to start, learn along the way, and adjust as needed. If you create multiple income sources, you'll notice that your dependence on your job decreases and your financial security begins to expand. Over time, your investments and businesses can become the foundation of your wealth, providing freedom and more opportunities for growth. Now that you're understanding how to create multiple income streams and invest wisely, it's crucial to know how to manage the money you have. One of the most important steps is having a strategic budget. Let's imagine the story of Mariana and Robert. They both earn the same monthly income, but their financial habits are very different. From the start, Mariana decides to be more strategic with her money. She sets aside a portion for investments, another for savings, and another for essential expenses like food, housing, and transportation. For her, the goal is clear: to control her money, not be controlled by it. Robert, on the other hand, doesn't have a budget. He simply pays bills as they come and buys whatever he wants without much planning. When his paycheck arrives, he often wonders where all his money went. At the end of the month, he always has to take out a loan or use his credit card to cover the shortfall. The difference between them is simple. Mariana has a strategic budget and is in control of her finances, while Robert lives on autopilot and ends up in debt. Now you might be thinking, but what is a strategic budget? The answer is simple. It's a plan for your money, a way to organize and direct every cent you earn toward achieving your financial goals. With a budget, you avoid waste and start allocating your resources toward investments that help build wealth. Here are the steps to create a strategic budget. Determine your sources of income. Knowing exactly how much you earn is the first step. This includes your salary, investment, earnings, and any other sources of income. Divide your essential expenses. Define how much you need to spend on housing, food, transportation, utility bills, etc. These are expenses you must control to maintain financial security. Establish categories for your money. Set aside a portion for investments, a portion for savings, and the rest for variable expenses such as entertainment, shopping, and leisure. The idea is to ensure that a good part of your money is allocated toward growing your wealth. Adjust and evaluate your budget regularly. Your budget is not fixed. It needs to be reviewed and adjusted as your financial situation changes. You may earn more or less, or your variable expenses may increase. Keep a close watch to ensure you stay on track. For example, a simple division could look like this: 50% for essential expenses, housing, food, transportation, etc. 20% for investments, stocks, real estate funds, etc. 10% for savings, for emergencies and major future goals. 20% for variable expenses, entertainment, hobbies, shopping, etc. The key here is to create discipline and stay in control. Over time, you'll realize that having a strategic budget isn't just about controlling spending, but about building a solid foundation for your money to work for you so that you can achieve financial freedom. Now that you know how to manage your income with a strategic budget, it's time to learn one of the most powerful lessons about building wealth: buying assets before liabilities. The concept is simple. Assets are things that put money in your pocket, while liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. However, many people make the mistake of prioritizing liabilities, such as expensive cars, designer clothes, and the latest gadgets, before ensuring they invest in assets that will generate future income. Let's understand this better with the story of João and Sophia. João has a good income and earns enough to cover his needs and desires, but instead of focusing on investing, he buys a new car every year, takes expensive trips, and purchases electronics that quickly lose value. He feels immediate pleasure from these purchases, but deep down, he knows that these things do not contribute to increasing his wealth. João ends up stuck in a cycle of spending to maintain a lifestyle image and never truly accumulates wealth. Sophia, on the other hand, takes a different approach. When she receives her salary, she thinks about investing first. She buys a property that generates rental income and invests in dividend-paying stocks. Instead of spending on liabilities, she directs her money toward assets that grow her net worth. After a few years, she owns multiple properties and investments that generate a stable passive income, making luxury purchases far less important. What's the lesson here? Prioritizing the purchase of assets ensures that your money starts working for you, instead of working just to buy things that lose value. Here are some examples of assets you can start investing in. Real estate. Buying properties to rent out or sell later can generate a stable passive income. Real estate can be one of the safest assets if chosen wisely. Stocks and real estate investment trusts are it. Investing in dividend-paying stocks or real estate funds can ensure you receive passive monthly income. Businesses. Investing in a small business or starting your own can be an excellent way to generate passive income. Bonds and long-term investments. Investing in government or corporate bonds can also be a secure way to generate passive income. On the other hand, liabilities include new cars. While buying a new car may be tempting, it starts losing value the moment it leaves the dealership. It may be necessary, but it is not an investment. Expensive clothing and electronics. While these items may bring momentary satisfaction, they do not generate any financial returns. Consumer loans and debt. Paying interest on consumer debt is one of the fastest ways to lose money. The secret is to make money work for you. When you buy assets, you create a source of income that will help finance your purchases of liabilities later. Instead of working just to pay bills and acquire things that lose value, you start using your money strategically, prioritizing what will truly bring returns in the future. Now that you understand the importance of buying assets instead of liabilities, let's talk about one of the most powerful strategies of all time for building wealth, the power of compound interest. When you understand how compound interest works, you can turn a small investment into a large sum over time. Let's simplify the concept. Imagine you have $1,000 to invest. If you put this money into an account that offers 10% annual interest, at the end of 1 year, you will have $1,100. In the second year, you will earn 10% on $1,100, which results in $1,200. In other words, every year, your initial $1,000 not only continues generating interest, but the interest you earn also starts generating more interest. This exponential growth process is what we call compound interest. Now let's imagine you decide to be more disciplined and continue investing regularly, like Beatrice did. She decides to invest $1,000 every month in an account that yields 10% annually. Even though she invests the same amount every month, the power of compound interest will make the total amount grow much faster than she could expect. After 10 years, the accumulated amount will be significantly higher than the $120,000 she originally contributed. But what makes compound interest so powerful? The secret is time. The longer your money stays invested, the more it grows. So, the sooner you start investing, the more you can benefit from compound interest. Time is your greatest ally. For example, if John starts investing at age 25 and makes regular contributions for 30 years, he can accumulate a great fortune, even if the monthly amount he invests is relatively small. On the other hand, if he waits until age 40 to start, he will have to invest much more money every month to reach the same accumulated amount over time. Here's the secret. Start as soon as possible. Even if you can only invest a small amount. In the beginning, the power of compound interest will work in your favor as time passes. And most importantly, don't touch your money. Let the interest accumulate over time. The exponential growth of compound interest happens when you reinvest your earnings and do not withdraw the money before compound interest has had a significant effect. Imagine that instead of spending on unnecessary things or simply keeping your money in a savings account that doesn't generate returns, you decide to invest in something like index funds or dividend-paying stocks. These investments will not only generate passive income over time, but will also continue to grow thanks to compound interest. The best example of this comes from the story of Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time. He started investing when he was young, and a significant part of his fortune came from the compound interest on his investments. He always says that the secret to his success was starting early and letting his money grow. So instead of spending impulsively or letting your money sit idle in a savings account, start investing, even with small amounts. Over time, the magic of compound interest will make your money work harder for you. Now let's talk about something fundamental for achieving true financial freedom, not relying solely on your salary. The truth is, if you depend only on your salary, your ability to build wealth will be limited. That's because, by relying only on your monthly income, you will always be trading your time for money. To achieve true financial freedom, the goal is to make your money work for you. Let's understand this with the story of Felipe. Felipe has a stable job and earns a good salary. However, he realizes that at the end of each month, after paying all the bills, there's very little left to invest. He starts to feel worried because, although his income is good, he is stuck in the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. He realizes that if he loses his job, or if the company goes through financial difficulties, he will be in a tough situation. Investments in income-generating assets. As we have seen, investing in real estate, stocks, real estate funds, and your own businesses can generate passive income that, over time, becomes increasingly significant. The sooner you start investing, the sooner you will begin to receive this extra income. Own businesses. If you have a hobby or a special skill, why not turn it into a source of income? Nowadays, with the internet, it is possible to start a small, low-cost business and work on it alongside your job. Whether selling products online, offering consulting services, or creating a course, the important thing is to establish an activity that generates money without requiring your physical presence all the time. Income from digital assets. With digitalization, many people are creating passive income streams through blogs, YouTube channels, or online courses. Although these assets require an initial investment of time and effort, they can generate continuous income over time. Promoting smart investments. Investing in a diversified portfolio, which includes stocks, real estate funds, and other long-term assets, is an excellent way to generate passive income from dividends and interest. As we saw earlier, compound interest will help you multiply these earnings over time. Remember, the goal is to use your salary to fund your journey toward wealth building, not as your sole means of covering daily expenses. The more sources of income you have, the more you will be able to invest and create a more stable and secure financial life. If you rely solely on your salary, you are limiting your growth potential. Felipe managed to change his reality because he worked hard to diversify his income sources and start investing his money for the future. The key is not to put all your eggs in one basket. One of the keys to accelerating your journey toward financial freedom is reinvesting your profits. This means that instead of spending the money you earn from your investments or business, you use these profits to further grow your wealth. When you reinvest, you are essentially telling your money, grow. More, multiply. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine that you bought shares of a company and in the first year you earned $5,000 in dividends. Instead of spending that amount, you decide to reinvest those $5,000 in more shares. In the second year, you not only receive dividends from the shares you initially purchased, but you also begin to receive dividends on the new $5,000 investment. This cycle of reinvesting your profits will make your wealth grow exponentially. The sooner you start reinvesting your profits, the faster you will reach financial freedom. Now, imagine Lucas's case. He started investing in real estate and in the first year earned $10,000 in rental income. Instead of spending this money on unnecessary things, Lucas decided to reinvest in more properties. Over time, he accumulated a significant number of properties and as a result, his passive income multiplied. He realized that by reinvesting his profits, he was accelerating the growth of his portfolio, allowing him to achieve his financial goals much faster than if he had spent or withdrawn the profit. Here is the central point. By reinvesting, you make your money work even harder for you. This allows your wealth to grow more efficiently. The key is to be disciplined and have a long-term mindset. Many investors make the mistake of withdrawing profits too early or spending what they earn on immediate luxuries. However, if you can delay gratification and reinvest your profits, the growth will be much greater. Here are some tips on how to reinvest your profits wisely. Invest in the same type of asset. If you already have investments in real estate or stocks, use the profits to buy more of these assets. This will help you expand your portfolio and increase your passive income over time. Diversify your investments. If you have a substantial amount of assets in one category, such as technology stocks, reinvest in other sectors or types of assets like real estate or real estate funds. Diversifying helps protect your wealth against specific market risks. Leverage the power of compound interest. Reinvesting your profits doesn't just apply to dividend-paying assets. It can also be applied to long-term investments, such as index funds or bonds. The sooner you reinvest, the stronger the effect of compound interest will be. Stay focused on the long term. The key to success is patience. If you focus on reinvesting your profits in a disciplined manner, you will be able to achieve financial goals that may initially seem distant or difficult to reach. Remember that real growth comes from keeping your money in motion. When you allow your investments to grow over time, your profits will be far more significant than if you simply made small investments and withdrew them too soon. The strategy of reinvesting your profits puts your money on a path of continuous growth. Before starting to make risky investments or embarking on major projects, it is essential to ensure that you have a well-structured emergency fund. This fund is a financial reserve that should be used exclusively for unexpected situations, such as a medical emergency, job loss, or a problem with your home or car. The idea behind an emergency fund is to avoid financial stress while working to build your wealth. Let's consider Carla's example. She started investing with discipline, but initially didn't prioritize building a financial reserve. One day, her car broke down unexpectedly, and she didn't have the money available for repairs. Since she had no emergency fund, she had to rely on her credit card and ended up in debt. This setback hurt her investment plans, as she spent a long time paying off credit card interest, which affected her ability to continue investing. From this experience, Carla realized that to achieve financial freedom sustainably, it was crucial to have a reserve of at least 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. This fund ensures that you can handle unforeseen events without disrupting your investment flow or long-term financial plan. Here are some tips for building your emergency fund. Calculate your essential expenses. Before starting, determine how much you spend each month on necessities like rent, food, transportation, and utility bills. The goal is to have a reserve sufficient to cover these expenses in case of need. Start small, but stay consistent. You don't need to build your emergency fund all at once. If you set aside a small portion of your salary each month, you'll soon have the necessary amount. The key is to start and remain consistent. This is not a sprint, but a marathon. Store the fund in an accessible place, but avoid temptation. Your emergency fund should be available quickly, but it should be stored in a way that prevents you from using the money for non-essential expenses. Savings accounts or low-risk investments are good options for this fund. Use it only for real emergencies. The key to making this emergency fund work is to use it exclusively for urgent and unforeseen situations, such as job loss, a medical emergency, or repairs to essential items, like your car or home. Avoid spending it on non-essential purchases or situations that don't truly qualify as an emergency. Having an emergency fund does not mean giving up on your wealth-building plans. On the contrary, it is a strategic step to ensure that unexpected events do not derail your financial progress. By having this reserve, you can invest with more confidence and focus on the long term, without the fear of needing to withdraw investments in case of an emergency. What would happen if you faced a financial emergency today? Would you be prepared? Building an emergency fund is the best way to ensure that your journey toward financial independence is stable and free of unpleasant surprises. Are you ready for the next step toward financial success? If you think this content can help someone improve their financial life, share it with them. What you learned here might be exactly what they need to start their journey toward financial independence. And don't forget, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more valuable financial tips. Let's walk this path together to transform your financial life.